Welcome to the CG Pro podcast. This is episode 73 with Chuck Maray and our very special guest, Chuck, who is a filmmaker and an actor and a YouTube creator extraordinaire. We'll say hi to Chuck in just a second. If you enjoyed today's show, you can be back here again in 2 weeks and enjoy another one. You can also follow us at becomecgpro.com and in our free Facebook group. So yeah, Chuck, amazing to have you here on the show. Chuck is a filmmaker, as I said. He has has acted in all kinds of things. Has created a YouTube channel that got up to 2 million subscribers, I believe, and really diverse range of things that you've done, but mainly focused in film.
Absolutely. Almost 2 million. And honestly, I kind of want to start it back up. I kind of made it a non-priority whenever in 2017 the adpocalypse happened and my YouTube channel lost 90% of its revenue overnight, and I had to basically liquidate everything and then find, something else to do, which is good, because things like that end up pushing you in a completely different direction, and you end up learning things that you never thought you were going to learn. And I'm actually thankful now that it happened. At the time it was difficult, but at this point I feel like it's been too long since I've actually been consistent on the YouTube channel. So for the past few years I've been just thinking of something that gives you what you need on YouTube, which is obviously it has to be engaging and it has to be consistent, but it also has to be financially it has to financially make sense, So when the original show stopped being that, we started thinking about different things to do. And now with all of this Unreal Engine stuff and being able to learn it thanks to you, I feel like I have something that could be engaging, consistent, and affordable, because Unreal Engine is something that you can use to create amazing projects with just time. Time is all it takes.
Right. And a little skill.
And right, yeah. Which you gain with time, so,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know,
Still,
but
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so
Yeah,
for
one
sure,
leads
for
to the
sure.
other.
You gotta put the hours in.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's been amazing seeing and meeting you and watching you go through the training and produce a film. How did you get started with all of this, though? What was the kind of the beginning of your journey, if you like? Did you study film in school? Did you watch some movies early on in life that inspired you to want to be an actor or a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think the first thing that inspired me to make movies, or the first person, was my dad. When I was really young, it's probably about 5 or 6, we would watch a movie and he would pause it and he'd say, "Hey, hey, look at this." And he'd rewind it and he'd show me a continuity error. And it could be something like a glass is really full in a wide shot, and then it cuts to like a mid shot, and it's almost down to the bottom, or a cigarette that just keeps moving around or getting bigger and smaller, and things of that nature. And as soon as he started pointing those things out, I started to realize that I wasn't seeing reality. I was seeing a magic trick. And I wanted to make it. I wanted to make the magic tricks. I wanted to create the tricks and make other people feel as though I was giving them a real world with real characters. And right after that, at the time I was really interested in paleontology, right? So I could name every dinosaur imaginable.
Me too.
And Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah, that
And
was
that's
one
what
of
I
my
thought.
greatest loves. Yeah,
Man, yeah, I just that's I loved it, and I decided that I wanted to make a little cartoon. So my dad, I was about 9 years old. My dad got his video camera out, and I drew every single frame of this dinosaur fight. I think it was a T-Rex fighting a Triceratops or something. No, he was fighting a Brachiosaurus, and then the Brachiosaurus was saved by the Triceratops. Anyway, so I drew it, and then what he did was he took the camera and he pointed it downward at my drawings, and he would hit record stop, and then move the next frame, record stop, and then he'd keep doing that until all of my frames were done. And then we'd play it on the TV, but the camera is so old that it would be it would take too long to play, so then he'd hit fast forward, and then we'd be able to see the animation. And
yeah,
I remember, even at that young age, I was sort of upset by the fact that in order to watch my little cartoon, you had to see the lines, the fast forward lines. So I was never able to really experience what I wanted to. And that was my first moment of just wanting to make something better, or even being limited by technology, and wishing that there were a better way. But then when I was 10, we moved to Arkansas, where we lived in Mexico originally. I'm originally from Mexico. I lived in a town called Cuernavaca, Morelos, which is about an hour away from Mexico City. And my dad decided that he didn't like being a lawyer and he wanted to do something else. And my grandma was living in Arkansas at the time, and she told us about all these opportunities, told my parents about it. And my dad decided that he could be a teacher, he could teach. He's always wanted to do that. So we left and we moved to Arkansas when I was 10. And around the time that I was 14, my dad got me involved with the cable access uh, channel, the local cable access television channel. And I started doing all the classes and running equipment, and then producing my own little short films. And at around that time, it was a little bit before that, Jurassic Park came out, and I had to watch it. I had to watch it because I love dinosaurs. But then when I saw Jurassic Park, I realized that paleontologists are just, they're digging up bones. And as fun as that is, I actually wanted to experience the threat of a dinosaur. So really, what I wanted to do was make movies with dinosaurs, or just movies in general. And from that moment on, that's all I could ever think about. I have a lot of friends that have always struggled with knowing what they wanted to do with their lives, or trying to figure out what their passions are, or anything, or just figuring out what path they want to follow. And I've never been able to relate to that, because I've loved film longer than it seems I can remember. So I never had to make a choice as to what I wanted to do with my life. That happened very early for me, and I've been working toward that every moment since.
amazing. Yeah, well, very very similar for me. In Jurassic Park was the thing as well. That was the moment, and a love of fossils and dinosaurs since I was a kid, like many kids. But there's something particular about them, about that
Mhm.
that made me want to make them as well. Especially seeing that it was possible, and watching Steve Williams' documentary about the making of it back in the day was really interesting. I was watching that in the last couple of days, just seeing how it being born, the process and being invented. But yeah, very 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 cool. Can you? Well, firstly, do you have a favorite dinosaur?
Yes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly, because I've only just read it. I've never actually heard anybody say the name, but it's the Parasaurolophus, which is the it's the it's a a herbivore with that sort of thing on its back. You know what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah.
like a I don't know. It just looked
Spike,
cool to
blunt
me. Yeah,
spike.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it looks kind of like a spike coming out, but it's blunt. I don't know. I just thought that dinosaur was really, really cool looking.
The
So it's an odd one. I think I always pick like the oddest things to be my favorite things so that they can stay my favorite things instead of everybody's favorite things, you know?
right.
Maybe it's a nonconformist kind of a
I was
viewpoint. I
gonna
don't know.
I was gonna ask you why. Mine's the Stegosaurus, which is not the classic T-Rex or whatever, but
Yeah.
I loved it for some reason. I just thought
I
it was
love the
interesting.
Stegosaurus as well. Yeah, for sure.
I was curious about favorite dinosaur is a interesting question. Everyone has different reasons for why, and I was curious about
Mhm.
the reason why as well.
Honestly, I
Um,
just like the look, and I thought that it could
yeah,
actually hold its own if it ever had to fight a carnivore.
83.5 million years old. I googled it just now when you
Wow.
said it. um, so favorite dinosaur, definitely an interesting question. Um,
Mhm.
what what was it? Can you explain? Because I think also the other thing that you said is very interesting, and I've also been lucky that kind of early on, at least the age of 14 or 15, also knew that that's what I wanted to do and had a bit of a diversion off into computer science and programming. And but I always loved computers, always loved dinosaurs, always loved art, and they came together in a
Mhm.
meaningful way for me for sure. I'm curious a bit if you know like was there a moment where when you realized was it that moment when you were kind of seeing the illusion and seeing it kind of fall apart, or was it could you explain it as a feeling particularly in the direction of knowing that you wanted to do that with for a living or for the rest of your life? Because I think this it's easy to think of things that you enjoy and also not really have the confidence or faith or whatever that you could actually pursue those things. Was there a feeling that you got?
Yeah, absolutely, and it was ineffable. I can't really articulate it. It was just this moment of absolute clarity where I realized that's what I want to do, and not only that's what I want to do, but that's what I'm going to do. You know, and I've pursued it regardless of any challenges or failures. I don't think I can quit. I don't think it's possible. For a while, my dad wanted me to have a backup plan because I was in the middle of producing my first feature film, which I did in my early 20s, and I maxed out all of my credit cards, and it was taking forever to make, and I was running into a lot of issues, and I was kind of depressed at the time. And I think my dad was sort of my both my parents were sort of just they felt for me and they were worried about me. So my dad wanted me to have some kind of a backup plan. And I remember telling him, well, that's why I have music. And then of course my dad just face palms, because for me it's always been art. I think the reason I love film so much is because I love art so much. I love painting, I love music, I love anything that has to do with art, and I felt that film was the only medium that allowed you to do all of it, because it's a combination of every single art that there is, from sculpting to performing to you name it, you name the art, it's in film. And I think with my ADHD, it was very difficult for me to really focus on one thing and do it for a very long time. Like I go through different little obsessions. Like I'll get obsessed with the guitar and I'll do that for like a month and then I'll get bored and then I'll move on to chess and I'll do that for a month and then I'll get bored. And but with film, if I get bored in one particular aspect of it, I can move on to another aspect of it, and I'm still working within the realm of film. So right now I'm working as a VFX supervisor and colorist for a film that's in production at the moment. But then sometimes I'll get hired to do special effects, which is, completely different. You show up on set and you do squibs and all of that stuff, and then if I get bored of that, I can move on to something else. But yeah, what you said about computers, the same thing for me. I've been obsessed with computers since I was little. My mom signed me up for a computer course when I was 7, and this was MS DOS. And my mom, I don't remember a lot of it, but my mom keeps telling me that there were people in the class that kept cheating off of me, you know? So I thought that was pretty funny. And then in high school, like I did some programming in C++, and I can't remember half of it, but I was pretty good at it. And so that computers was also one of my many obsessions. And then film became computer based,
Yeah.
so even in that level, I was like, this is something else that I love that film provides. So every single love that I have, every single passion that I have, you can find within cinema. And so I there's nothing else I would love to do, and to be honest, I don't think there's anything else that I can do.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm sure there is, but like it's very interesting to hear you talking about your drive and determination and clarity, because I think I've always said that the hard part is figuring out what you want to do. And similar for me, I was lucky. I figured it out. I had a couple of weird turns ending up as a computer programmer. It was not really what I wanted to do when I was a kid, but in some ways it was. I don't know. I feel for me, I've always pursued things that I love as well, and had similar kind of parental head palm, face palm kind of reaction, like, I don't know, is that a real job? Not many people
Mhm.
succeed at that type of thing. And it's in some ways not a sensible thing to pursue, but something that plenty of people do and make money from and are able to make a living from. And you have a good following, I can tell, because we're starting to see some comments coming in from people that you've clearly inspired over the years by pursuing this. Some people saying that they followed you going back quite a long way, and as through all the changes on YouTube, and just um, giving you some high fives here, just so you know, there's some friends here, and people who have feel free to ask questions as well to anyone who is watching. This is live, so do feel free to ask questions if you would like to.
Thank
um,
you. Yeah, no, and it's really cool. I still get messages here and there, and they're always positive, and they make me feel pretty old, to be honest. Because, well, the last message I got is something like, "Hey Chuck, I love you. I love your channel. I can't wait for you to make more content. I used to watch it back when I was 9. I'm 21 now."
okay.
And at the time when I was making the channel, I thought, this might be something like that, because I knew young people were watching the show. And I remember all of the things that I watched when I was a little kid, like, Rocco's Modern Life, or, things on Nickelodeon. I'm from that generation. And at the time I thought, hey, maybe Zombie Go Boom will be something that kids will remember fondly, and it'll remind them of their childhood. And I was right on, because I'm getting messages like that. So it's great. But it does make me feel a little bit old. I did a movie with Stephen Yee, who is famous for his YouTube channel. He's a huge YouTuber, and he does the emotional damage thing that my daughter just absolutely loves. Anyway, so I did a movie with him, and we were talking about YouTube, And I told him about my channel, and he recognized it, and he said, "Oh my gosh, you're an OG." And it was a great compliment. Obviously, to me, OGs are like Freddie Wong and Rhett and Link and everything. But yeah, I've been I've been on the YouTube scene for a very long time now.
People are
And
asking you to come back. Somebody just
oh, I would
posted
love
saying,
to.
"Come back,
I would,
please."
yeah, I would love to. I think what I really want to do moving forward, because if you don't do something, especially if you have to do something consistently, if you don't do something that you're actually passionate about and enjoy doing, then it becomes a job, and it's not fun, and you do it less. Like when I worked television, I made commercials and promotions. For the most part, I didn't enjoy the work that I was doing. So then I would come home realizing that when my work was my hobby, and I didn't want to do my hobby anymore. So I
Yep.
had to move away from that. And that's when I went to YouTube. And then when YouTube, became that, and then obviously just failed because of the apocalypse, I went to acting, and then eventually I went back to television. But during that time was when The Mandalorian came out, and I was doing the same thing where I was making the same thing over and over again. And I didn't feel right about it. But then I saw, Unreal Engine and the capabilities of being able to use that to make all of the stories that I never thought that I could make, unless some, angel from above came down with $1 million, which is never going to happen. And so that gave me this possibility. And then after that, and getting cast in a few movies, I decided to quit my television job again and just really pursue it. So I think, again, this is to say that moving forward with the YouTube channel, what I would really like to do is, instead of doing the show that we were doing, and the show that YouTube essentially doesn't want on their platform, because it's a little violent, um zombies, that I would love to do things based in filmmaking and on Unreal Engine, just sort of pass the buck kind of a thing, where I can teach some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, teach a little bit of Unreal Engine, specifically to beginners that want to get started, and then just make projects that may or may not be zombie related, utilizing the engine. Because one, I'm making content that I think the my viewers will like, and content that I'm passionate about, and also it would help me put in the reps,
Yep.
because that's how you get better at something. Repetition is the mother of skill. And anytime that I get a chance to do anything in Unreal Engine, paid or not, I'll generally take it, especially if it's with a good team, like the VR Dolphin thing that we did together, because I get to put in the reps, and I get to learn, and I get to get better. It's not about the money, it's about investing in yourself, and being able to use what you learn to make what you want later and faster. So I don't know. I'm hoping to come back. I really want to come back. Part of me is it's a little ambivalent, because I don't want to let anybody down. And I know that the content that I would be able to put up would be vastly different than what they are used to. But I feel like if I can be consistent, and I can make sure that the content is good, and I'm passionate in the making, that they'll respond well. At least that's my hope.
Well, it seems like your audience is keen on it. We're seeing comments coming in, this being a live broadcasted podcast and all, from somebody who's now, unfortunately, name I cannot pronounce, but he says, we all want you back, but we want you to do what you enjoy.
Nah, man, I appreciate that.
I
Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really
I
does.
I think I think you're right in that you have to do something you enjoy because that's what you're going to put the hours in on, and people can feel it. You know, people can tell that you're doing something that you're putting love into, as they can with cooking. People cook with love. People make films with love as well. You can, if you put that into it, people can tell. It was a
Hmm.
great pleasure working with you on the VR Dolphin project, which to anyone out there that doesn't know was a meditation experience made for the Quest 3, and we made something with a popular meditation teacher who works with Google and the mayor of New York, and it actually ended up on a billboard in Times Square and being at these incredible events with people who are kind of some of the forgotten people who've been incarcerated, or people who are elderly, some of those communities, and a thing which was built with love for sure and intended to help people. And Chuck was instrumental on that project.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was definitely a fun experience, and it was a learning experience. And I have a fly hanging out here. Speaking of my dad, he taught me how to catch a fly. I don't know if I can do it. I might hit the microphone, but maybe I
Yeah.
got it. Ah. Okay.
Wow.
Hopefully it doesn't bother me anymore.
So
Sorry about that.
anybody listening, I saw what Chuck did to catch the fly. If anyone's listening to the recorded version, it seems like you put your hand above the fly,
Yeah.
keep
So
them
what you
keep them
do
down.
is you look at the fly and you make sure that you put your hand behind it so that it
Mm,
can't see you. And then instead of trying to catch the fly, you you move your hand on top and across the fly. So the fly will see you at the last second, fly up, and it'll fly right into your hand. So you're not actually going for the fly, you're going for where the fly is going to be.
right, that's interesting. I forget the athlete that talked about looking for where the ball is going rather than
Yeah,
where it is sitting.
exactly. It's like
Yeah, sitting
making
down.
these calculations. I mean, not as much with a fly because it can only go a certain way, you know.
Yeah.
Professional athletes, they're geniuses at that.
Is there any part of that that relates to what you're now doing with computer graphics and seeing where, you mentioned The Mandalorian being a kind of an experimental film or TV project,
Mhm.
if you like, and seeing that and seeing where that was going.
Yeah.
How did that speak to you?
Oh man, it just gave me possibilities, you know. It gave me a way to do to make all of the ideas in my head that I thought I was going to have to wait a very long time to make. It gave me a it allowed me to see it as it's on me. I can make this happen. I don't have to wait on other people. I don't have to wait on opportunities. I can create my own because the technology exists. And if I am willing to put in the time and effort to learn this technology, then it's no longer a waiting game. It's no longer asking people for favors. I become completely responsible for whether or not I can make these ideas that I've had since I was a kid into something tangible, something real. And yeah, and actually with Zombie Go Boom with the channel, I it was weird. I was messing around with AI. This was probably about a week and a half ago, and I had this AI help me write a script for something that I've always wanted to do, which was like best and worst weapons during a zombie apocalypse. And it did the audio pretty well, but the video, it was trying to find stock footage and putting it in, and it was doing a terrible job. And but I liked the audio, and I liked what it was kind of doing with the script. So I worked with it for I don't know another 3 to 4 hours, and I wrote lines, and then it wrote lines. Anyway, it iterated, and we were able to. I say we like it's a person, but I don't know, maybe. Anyway, so I was writing, it was writing, and we came up with a really really cool script, and then but the voiceover guy just sounded very robotic, especially in certain phrases. So I kept trying to get the AI to change the voice, and it finally came to land on a what I can only describe as a very proper or uh, British man, older British man. And when he was talking, I I visualized somebody who looked like Sigmund Freud or something. So the idea originally when I was doing this was like, ah, maybe I can make a video that they'll enjoy. So I'm gonna take this audio and I'm gonna put music to it, and then I'm gonna take shots from different episodes of Zombie Go Boom as B-roll, and then I'm gonna make this video. But then when I heard this British person's voice, I I've imagined him in my head. And then I thought, okay, so what if I make this guy using MetaHuman, and then I get assets for his environment and assets for props for the things that that he's talking about, and then I just make it like it's an informative video hosted by this character. And so the idea was to do and I haven't gotten to it, but I want to do the performance capture myself. So lip sync to the voice that the AI created, then taking that performance to the metahuman that I've already made, and then putting that metahuman into the environment that I've already found, and then cut to my other props as B-roll, and then even if it's just kind of like this talking head video, it's still really engaging in my viewpoint, just because of the fact that it's virtual. There's something to be said about just the aesthetic value of creating something specifically in Unreal Engine. There's something and maybe it's just because the technology is relatively new, but it you want to see it. You're engaged by it. If I just cast a person that looked like this guy, and then I shot it for real, it probably wouldn't be as engaging. So I don't know. That might be the next video that I make and put up on Zombie Go Boom, and that would be a fun one because I would get to practice some things that I've been wanting to practice, and it is about zombies. So the people that follow the channel for that reason will get what they want, and it's kind of a launching point into this sort of unreal conversation that I want to have with them.
Tell us about that, because mentioned being inspired by The Mandalorian, and somehow you found CG Pro, and
Yeah,
that's how we met, and you came to study with us. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience?
sure. So at the way that I came across CG Pro is because I started seeing it on Facebook. I started getting some advertisements, and so kudos on finding me that way. That's difficult to do. But basically, at the time, I was going one tutorial after another on YouTube, just trying to make this short film that I wrote. Because when I saw The Mandalorian, the first thing I did when I got to my desk at my TV job, I probably shouldn't admit this, but it was a slow day and I was done with all my work. So I wrote this script, I wrote this short film, and I just did one pass, and it was done. Like I didn't have to rewrite it. Maybe I had to edit it a little bit, but it was done. And I wrote it specifically inspired not by The Mandalorian or Star Wars, but by that technology, because I wanted to write something that if I could make this utilizing virtual production and Unreal Engine, that I would understand the software well enough that I would be able to make whatever I wanted. So I wrote this short film called Inverted. I'm still working on it. It's slow going. It's very complicated. But I was working on it uh, basically 8 hours a day. I had a crazy deadline where I had to get at least a portion of it done. And I came across an ad for CG Pro, and I thought that maybe I wasn't learning Unreal Engine the most the most proper way, or the way that would give me the best or quickest results, because I was again bouncing from one person and one tutorial to another, trying to piece all these things together into some kind of a proper workflow. And it was just a lot of trial and error. And I was losing a lot of time doing the smallest thing because the engine would break on something that I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. And then going through tutorials just to find that one little nugget of gold. Anyway, it was not fun. So I looked into CG Pro. You guys seemed just awesome and exactly what I needed. I talked to my wife, and she said, if this is what you need, let's do it. Let's figure it out. So we did. And then, it I I can't be more thankful that I decided to invest in myself by doing the course with you guys, because I learned proper workflow. I learned the right way of doing things. I learned from the people that were teaching the classes, real people live answering my specific questions. There was a ton of value. Even just understanding how to get free assets on Unreal Engine was a huge value versus cost that I continue to be helped by. I don't know how much time and energy I've saved since doing the course, and since then, if I imagine doing something like this, this guy uh, talking about zombies video, I know exactly how to do it. I've already made it in my head, you know, and a lot of that has to do with my time at CG Pro and how fast I was able to grow by doing that. So I guess my goals are just to keep learning, keep getting better, and keep getting faster, so that anything that I want to create, or anything that somebody else wants to create, I can be a help. I think one of the things that I realized that was really profound not too long ago when I started setting up my own studio was that there are a lot of people that feel like I do. They feel underrepresented by the film industry. They feel like they have to dumb down their ideas, or they have to make a film that doesn't represent what they want to do, you know. And they have to make this film, this little film about a guy in an apartment, depressed, or whatever it is that they don't want to make, as a stepping stone in order to get the funding to be able to make that fantasy movie or that science fiction movie that they really want to make. And I think not only does this level the playing field for me, but it levels the playing field for them, and nobody has taken them seriously. So what I've been doing, outside of thinking about starting YouTube up again, is uh, listening to these guys and starting this conversation with these filmmakers, so that somebody takes them seriously and somebody can help them, because at the end of the day, even a little short film that takes place in an apartment with an adequate crew is going to cost between $3,000 and $5,000 or something like that. But for comparable cost, they can come to me and they can make the film that they actually want to make. And at this point, it is a win-win. I don't even have to sell it because it's so obvious, that this is the direction that they should go. It was obvious to me, and selling myself in that way, it's like it's the first time I think in my life in which it's been easy to do that, to sell. Usually I'll feel pretty slimy doing that. But I
Yep.
believe in this so much, and I believe in what it can create, not only for myself but others, so much that it's easy to try to sell this idea to somebody, I don't have to fake anything. It's all real, and I'm all in.
Fantastic. Yeah, the passion is clear. I feel the same way too. I never wanted to become a salesperson. In fact, quite the opposite.
Mhm,
And I found it, basically being the salesperson at CG Pro in the early days, anyway. That it is just you're talking about something that you love doing, and if it can help people, and not trying to persuade somebody to do something that's not right for them. No, I don't believe in that either. But if you're passionate about something and you believe you can help somebody else, then you'll do that all day long. I think, as you said, there's a lot of people out there who want to create things and have always felt this is what I feel this personally, this moment in time represents is, how cameras used to be something that were really inaccessible and nobody had
mhm,
them, nobody could do that. And then how stills cameras initially, and then video cameras, and then a couple of companies created some early affordable video camera products that many people could use and edit, and then people could make their own films. But visual effects was very inaccessible, and I was starting in visual effects. You could only do it if you had $1 million really for the equipment, just the equipment,
mhm,
let alone all of the other things that go around the equipment, the pipeline and the people and all of those kinds of things. It was really, really inaccessible. And I I remember clearly Maya being a $50,000 or so license just for the
mhm,
software. Like the machine it could
mhm,
only run on was extremely expensive. So to me, this moment, and I think what you're describing is giving people access to digital visual effects in a kind of profound way. And if you add maybe what we're seeing in machine learning and AI on top of that, then maybe as an extension, to me, it's not a replacement, but an extension of digital filmmaking, and an empowerment, if you like. Obviously, a big moral debate going on, and we're waiting to see it appear in a practical and useful way. But the stuff that we are talking about, the real time graphics, visual effects, Unreal Engine, especially it being free for most people, still, um, is giving people access to that. Do you see it in a sort of similar way?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. It's leveling it again. It's leveling the playing field. There's nothing stopping anyone from creating the film that they want to make outside of their own effort, and that's exciting. And then, as far as the conversation with AI, I think it's like anything else. You use it as a tool. It's not an end all be all, create this thing for me. It's how can I use AI to do the grunt work so that I can focus my effort on the creative side, the side that a machine cannot do, or cannot do well. Um, so all of these things, and it happens all the time. I mean, when cameras came out, what did painters think? you know when the motion picture camera came out, what did the theater community think. When I was there when George Lucas decided that digital cinema was the thing, and I remember what people thought at the time. They were not happy about
Yeah.
it. And so every time there's this new iteration that allows people, more people, to be able to use it, it scares the gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers should actually just realize, okay, this is out there, we need to use it just as well as they do, and then we also need to come up with the next iteration of this thing, so that we can keep moving forward, so that they follow us instead of being threatened. But it's just so incredibly exciting at this point, just being able to be completely in charge of whether or not you get to make that dream project that you always wanted to make. You know, it's, I don't know. I think people should be taking advantage of it. Even AI, to be honest. I mean, use whatever you can. And if your story is well done, if your characters are fun, and you can relate to them, and if your story is interesting, like, it doesn't really matter what technology you use, you know. It's
It
like,
has to come first, right? That's the part that has to come
absolutely,
first.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you see incredible production value in something that's forgettable at best, constantly, constantly. And what I think is really also cool is not necessarily about everybody being able to do whatever they want. Obviously, that's cool, but then also people that would have been sort of middle of the line, they can do what Disney can do. They can do what, you know, uh, the biggest companies can do. You we are, if you don't even have to search very far. If you go to Netflix, you can find content that is made by Japanese cinema or Indonesian cinema or Korean cinema, etc., that have visual effects that are on par with anything that Hollywood can do right now. So as the level of, so it will trickle down eventually. Like, the little guy on his computer is going to make something that incredible, but as it trickles down, you're seeing players that couldn't achieve this kind of level achieving it already, and it's really awesome. It's really awesome to watch, because you get to see ideas and stories that come from people that you're just not used to, and that is how we grow as a society, and in story, by being able to view something that we've never gotten to see before. you know I'm I don't know about you, but I'm personally tired of all these tropes and all these reboots, and like, I want to see original stuff. And because this is more accessible to everyone, we're about to see a lot of original stuff. And even that, for as a viewer, not as a maker or creator, but as a viewer, that's fascinating. That's exciting.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I'm on the both sides of that. No, I'm sat in front of a poster for a big old expensive redo, of which I remember going onto that movie, The Jungle Book. If anyone is listening, thinking this could be like many redos, another one that's done for the sake of leveraging an old IP and trying to make some more money out of it. And I know it turned out that it was something that was actually trying to change filmmaking in the
No, no,
same
no,
breath.
absolutely. Well, John Favreau has been at the at the forefront of allowing us to be able to do this, and you're part of that. You're part of the team that allowed all of this for us. So I will forever be thankful to John Favreau and to you personally, you know. And just for the record, and I'm guessing Andy Serkis isn't listening, but I enjoyed Jungle Book a lot more than Mowgli, because Mowgli had a scene that I believe has been changed now that broke me for 2 weeks straight. And I'm pretty sure if you've seen it, you know what scene I'm talking about. But like, my daughter, I thought she was gonna watch the Jungle Book, and she ended up clicking on Mowgli. And man, I should have I should have paid more attention. I could have kept her from seeing that scene, but I didn't. And that was just like not my greatest dad moment. But anyway, that's a tangent.
It's gonna happen. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it was an interesting moment in film because we were at the beginning of that project told that this other movie was being made,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and it was a race, basically. It was,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
we have to finish first because that's the
Mhm.
important part, is
Mhm.
getting it out there first. And we actually told that we were beginning. It was in story, we hadn't done the previews yet, and we had certainly hadn't done any visual effects. And we were told you have a year to get it in the can. We just kind of laughed. It was a small team, and I thought that's impossible. And fortunately, we didn't have to do that, because I think that would have been impossible. But it also allowed the space to be able to create some new techniques, and which is really the really valuable component of that movie. But yeah, it's interesting, having been a part personally of some things like that. Very lucky to have just been in the right place at the right time, for me and in the world. I thought I'd missed it, honestly. I thought Jurassic Park was that moment, and I'd missed it. But
Yeah.
these moments keep coming and keep happening, and it doesn't necessarily matter whether you don't necessarily need to go be part of one of those big movies, especially now. And we're watching Zach Stoltzfus, who was another student at CG Pro, who also was on this podcast not so long ago, made a feature film of his own. He came to the class telling us he was doing this, and I thought, okay, good luck. And can you just try and make a 2-minute short film for the class? No, that's what we usually recommend. But he did it. 2 years later, came back, and here's the film. I made it, and it got a theatrical
Wow.
release of and is on all the streaming channels now, and is good, and is a full feature sci-fi film with a 2-person visual effects crew. That was just impossible not very long ago.
Amazing. Is it fully animated, or is it live action with set extensions?
Yeah, it's live action with set
Okay.
extensions and effects. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
really cool, really funny, and to your point, good story first,
Yeah.
and they took the time with that. And but just obviously sci-fi has tons of visual effects in it, and
Mhm.
for a small crew to make something like that, and get a theatrical release as well, like
That's
that's
incredible.
that's new. That's a new moment appearing, and I expect to see more of it. And some of these pioneers that we're getting to see, and is cool. But I do believe there's more coming. To your point, um, what would you say to anyone sort of starting out or new to this, someone who has dreams in this direction? What advice would you give somebody?
Uh, right now I'm coaching a girls softball team. It's my daughter's softball team. So I've been remembering a lot more of the quotes that have always inspired me, and so that I can give it to them, and a lot of them are Bruce Lee quotes. I just love Bruce Lee. And one of the quotes is, and I'm probably paraphrasing, but don't be afraid of the person that practices 10,000 kicks. Be afraid of the person that practices one kick 10,000 times. And the idea there is that if you want to do something, and more importantly, if you want to get good at something, you got to be willing to practice. There's another quote by Bob Ross. And again, I'm probably paraphrasing, but he said that he didn't believe that there was anything like that talent existed, right? And I feel the same way. Um, he said that talent was a pursued interest, and that you could get really good at anything that you were willing to practice. And you know, that's essentially life. If you want to achieve anything, you just have to be willing to do the reps, you know. And you can think of it as bodybuilding. You know, how many times did Arnold Schwarzenegger curl, you know, to get his biceps, and how many iterations of that did he go through? Because he had to have started with very, very light weights and progressively made him heavier and heavier as his body grew. And he was willing to put in all of those repetitions and do them in the right way so that he got good repetitions out of it. You know, I was putting in all of the repetitions whenever I was starting to work on my short film in Unreal, but I wasn't putting in proper repetitions until CG Pro. And even though I was growing, I grew a lot faster with you know, doing it the proper way. So I mean, that's really all it takes. You get what you put into it, you know. And you can't blame people. You can't. There's Sylvester Stallone right there. One of my favorite monologues is from, I think, Rocky Balboa, where he's like one of the there's this huge monologue that I love. I have memorized, but there's one part of the monologue where he says, "You can't be pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her, of nobody. You know, cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that." And that's the idea. Even if things that happen in your life aren't your fault, they're still your responsibility. Because if you point fingers and you say it's because of this or that or the other thing, then you have no power to fix it. But if you point the finger back at you, even if it wasn't your fault, but you take responsibility, then you have the permission to fix it, you know? And so if you can take responsibility for yourself and put in the reps and have a clear vision of what you want to make, I mean, that's it. You can do it. You can do it. You know, just don't quit.
Thank you for sharing that. I got chills like 4 times when you were speaking just then, because I believe in what you're saying so much. You know, the etymology, the meaning of words is really interesting to me as well. And the word responsibility, often people think of that as being that I have to do this, or I'm supposed to do this, I'm meant to do this. Really broken down, it means the ability to respond, and that is exactly what you expressed, that you can have agency in something, you can act, you can have the effect that you want to, you have the power to be able to create your destiny, your future, your dreams, the project that you care about, your next step. And yeah, it's yeah, really amazing to hear you speaking about it. To clearly a lot of your fans who have appeared here and are have been inspired by what you've done over the years, and maybe some new people and a new audience. I think you've got a lot of encouragement here to continue to do what you're doing, and are drawn towards in the CG realm, in making whatever it comes next, the meta zombie go boom, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
um, I'm excited to see it, but having had the pleasure of working with you now as well on the Dolphin project, as well as being a part of creating the space at CG Pro to be able to help people grow. That's really what I love to do, is what I care about. Um I can tell that what you're a true artist, and you care, and you do what is right, and you follow what you're drawn towards. And I think a lot of people get distracted and follow things that they feel like they should be doing, or what's popular, or those kinds of things. But I can tell with you, it's what you're really feeling drawn towards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was not to go quote crazy, but Jim Carrey said that his dad, I believe his dad worked as an accountant, and he was a very funny guy. But instead of going after comedy, he decided to work as an accountant to provide for his family. And then years and years later, he was fired. So then at that point, Jim Carrey realized that you could fail at something that you didn't want to do. So why not fail at something that you actually want to do? And then, for me, just realize that failure is better than success. I've won
I love
awards
that.
and I didn't learn anything from them. I didn't learn anything from winning those awards. I learned everything from all of those moments where I messed up and I had to figure out how to fix it. And it's because of those moments that somebody eventually gave me an award. But that award didn't help me at all, except for the fact that I can look at it. And I like looking at it. Now, don't get me wrong; it
Right.
feels good, but that's not success. Is not it? Success does not come without failure, and in actuality, failure is success. You know, and the only real failure is not showing up and giving up. That's actual failure. But as long as you're trying, even if it doesn't go your way, you just found out another thing that doesn't work. And that is success. That is already a step in the right direction, you know? Just don't do that again. Do another thing. See if that works.
I love that. I love how you're talking about the fact that I'm gonna do my best to remember that success, that failure is success. I think there's a wonderful way of expressing that idea that really you can't grow without getting something wrong, and hopefully not repeatedly, but you have to repeat something over and over again to get good at it. But you have to get it wrong and get it wrong and get it wrong. You have to get it wrong as many times as possible. Like I always compare a lot of things to dating, and for me that is that entirely. You have to get a lot of things wrong in that area before you can get something right.
And
It's
sometimes that's the only way to find out what it is that you actually want
right.
is when things don't go your way. You're like, "Oh, well, did I even want to go in that direction?" Or I don't know. It's yeah, you learn you gotta want it too. Like not want the destination. You gotta want the failure. Every time you fail, you have to love it. If you get that comfortable with failure, if you get so comfortable with failure that you enjoy failing because you learn something new, like really become a lifelong learner, I mean, y- you'll never feel like a failure again.
Right, because it's not failure, right? It's
Mm-mm.
success. You've got to
It's the
learn
path.
something,
Yeah.
and the process is the thing to fall in love with. The destination, the award, the movie release, the whatever, is not the thing to fall in love with, because those
No,
are so fleeting.
yeah, every once in a while, and I don't want to be negative, but in this industry, like it happens. You end up working with people who join this industry because they want the the red carpet. They want the step and repeat. They want the event. I have social anxiety, honestly. So I don't enjoy any of the events. I don't want to go. That's like a thing that that would keep me from wanting to do it. But it was also a challenge. Just that's why I became actor. Besides the fact that I actually enjoy the work, it was to push myself to get past something, get past the limitation, so that I can, when I die, I can think that I was somebody who did not limit themselves. I was somebody who didn't let anybody tell them that I didn't have what it took to do this or that, and that I didn't tell myself that I couldn't do this or do that. But the point is that I work and I choose to work and I want to work with people who are in it for the right reasons. And the right reason when it comes to at least this work is, I think, to tell incredible stories that touch people in an emotional way. And if you do that, people will notice. You make something that does that, you'll get all the success you want. And I hope to be able to do that someday. Like really do that someday. That's my goal, you know.
I think you've been doing it for a while.
I appreciate that.
I think the people who have showed up to this episode prove that. You know, there's some people who are expressing not having been in the conversation with you for years, but I still remember how your work has affected them, and I think that's what Maya Angelou talked about. With that, you'll I forget the exact quote, but something like, "People don't remember what you said or did, but they do remember how you made them feel." And I think in that, the way that you approach things, having got to work with you as well directly recently, I can tell that, and I like how you challenge yourself and how you push yourself and how your desire for growth. But it's not just for you; it's for the extension and how that can then go on and affect others as well.
Yeah, especially my family, you know. I can tell them things all day long, but if they don't see it from me, what does it really mean?
Well, I recommend that you go read the comments in your YouTube channel
I
after this,
will.
because there's a lot of lovely things that people are still saying at this point. This has honestly been one of my favorite podcast episodes I've done so far. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I really love the how this becomes this has become such a human conversation about striving for being the best of ourselves. And you know, the computer graphics is a great vehicle for that, but and filmmaking and acting and various pursuits, but really the message is kind of universal. As we wrap, is there anything else that you would like to share with people? Anything maybe that you're working on? Any places people can find out what you're up to?
Uh, yeah, no, there's my YouTube channel. Hopefully I'll have more stuff on there. youtube.com/zombiegoboomtv. If you want to look at my film work, it's imdb.me/Chuck Maray. And I think all I wanted to say was hi guys. I miss you. I really do. I really do. I mean that. And I hope that I can create something that you're proud of and that you can connect to soon. I'm really trying to make that a priority with balancing everything else, which is tough, but not impossible.
Well, it sounds like they miss you too. So, and I look forward to seeing what you do next. I know that we'll keep in touch. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for taking the time, and
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you. I've had a great time. Thank you for all your great questions. This has been great for me.
Likewise, and thank you to all of the wonderful people who have showed up today as well. Can tell that many of them are from your YouTube channel. Thank you all for being a part of this today, and I hope that this inspired you. It certainly has me, and yeah, please look out for another episode if you're interested. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with another podcast. We also have our website, becomecgpro.com, if you want to find out more about the school. and our free Facebook group if you want to keep in touch and be a part of our community at CG Pro. I don't want to end this, but I have to. So I'm just going to again say thank you, huge thank you to Chuck for being here today.
Thank you, Ed.
You bet. Well, take care, everybody. Go out there, make your dreams happen, and make cool art, and believe in yourselves. Whatever you think that you want to do can be accomplished. If you see somebody else doing it, that means you can too. Maybe your parents might think it's not a sensible idea, but if there's people out there doing it, you can do it. It just really is a matter of, as Chuck said, believing and that it's the right thing for you, that you feel drawn to it, that you feel passionate about it, and then you're willing to put in the reps if you do find something like that, if you're lucky enough to. If you don't know what that is, experiment, try everything, and then you'll find out what you don't like, and through the process of elimination, hopefully find that thing. But yeah,
And your parents will come around
they
once you
will.
prove that you make something that's like good. You show them that,
Yep.
they'll come around.
You have to believe in yourself first, because sometimes the people who are closest to you will not encourage you in the direction of your dreams. But you gotta it's a step towards madness, believing in yourself and in doing something that's hard to accomplish. But if you find other people who are similar, who have done it, who you can get close to, that's been the best way. That's what I did at the beginning of my visual effects career, was finding people who'd already been down the path and following them, and because they'd done it, they were proof, and they could tell me exactly how they did it, and that sometimes is all the encouragement that you need, just to know that you've found something you love doing, and that there is a path. Sometimes it feels like there isn't one, but there is. There's always, if someone's doing it, especially if multiple people are doing it, there is a path. You just got to find it. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I really literally do not want to end this episode, but again, thank you to Chuck. Thank you to our audience, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, everybody. Oh, and one last thing. We have an open day. I forgot to mention this. I got so carried away by how much I'm enjoying this that I've got some other announcements. We do have an open day coming up if you're into the idea of the school and what we do. We have an open day on July the 9th. It's free. Come and get a free lesson. If nothing else, meet the community, meet some of our instructors. We have a Mad Max theme for our next episode. So our next open day. So if you want to come check that out, feel free to sign up. It's on the website. All right. Thank you, everybody. Take care. See you soon.